we're not heroes for America. We're not heroes for the government or anything like that. It's heroes for humanity. All I care about is humanity. Um, are there people having human rights violations? I don't care what side of any of that stuff is. We are non-political at all. We just go to help serve those people, do the right thing for the right reason, and it doesn't have to be worth it to do the right thing.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Change Agents, an Ironclad original presented by Firecracker Farm. Today we're going to be talking about heroes for humanity. And my guest today is Dennis Price. Dennis is a U.S. Marine veteran and founder and CEO of Heroes for Humanity, a nonprofit organization dedicated to humanitarian aid, rescue operations, and faith-based outreach. With more than 16 years in the Marines, including time in special operations and leadership roles, Dennis built a deep well of experience in teamwork, intelligence, and high-pressure missions, skills he now uses to drive his organization's impact around the world. Heroes for Humanity focuses on precision personnel rescue, humanitarian and medical relief, and evangelism, operating in disaster zones, conflict areas, and regions affected by human trafficking. Let's dive into the episode. Okay, Operators for Heroes for Humanity. I want to talk about the Marines and all that stuff as well too, but you brought it up. You just finished up with your INDOC.
Yes.
How many people do you get applying for it? And then what kind of a process do you use to create, is it create, is it teach, refine, whatever vernacular you would want to use for the people who work for your organization?
So it goes in a lot. So we after 19 years in all throughout special operations, various different selections I've been through, I've blended all of them together, not just in special operations, but as I started switching into the missionary side, the NGO side, the private contractor side, I took everything I've ever accumulated in life and everything of my experience and blended into how can you take a civilian and give them the proper tools and skills that are required to go in an austere environment, do precision personnel rescue, which is our first pillar. Our second pillar is humanitarian medical aid. And our third pillar, which is one of our strongest backbones, one is evangelism. How can you reach, teach, preach, and disciple in a country that is devastated with human rights violations, possibly genocide like Burma, or Uganda, or Ukraine, on the invasion of Ukraine? How can you take someone and equip them so they are safe, they are equipped with the tools that are needed and required, but they don't just lean on their own tools, on their own selves, their prior training, but on that third pillar of God? Because we know that in Scripture it says, "I can do all things in Christ who strengthens me." The next thing, another Scripture, it says that many people put their faith in chariots, some put their faith in horses, but we put our faith in the Lord our God. So we are a missionary group that equips people to use the gifts and talents of the Lord to be his hands and feet, to go out there that no one else will go, to reach, like I said, reach, teach, preach, and disciple, to reach those hard to reach souls in those hard to reach places. Like when we started in that Afghan evacuation, when we left our own behind, myself and Chad Robichaud went and swam across the Panjshir Valley, snuck in from Tajikistan, and did 90 miles of border reconnaissance so we can go out and save others. That's why our official slogan took the SF slogan and the PJ slogan and blended together to free the oppressed so that others may live. So how do we do this all and blend our three pillars of precision personnel rescue, humanitarian medical aid, and evangelism is we took all of everything I've ever experienced, multiple different selections in docs, from Free Burma Rangers style to a few other organizations I've been a part of, to Ranger School, to Force Recon selection, to various different ones that I'm not going to name, and blend it all together so that you can, as a civilian or whoever, go to Africa while there's a genocide in Uganda and learn medical aid and humanitarian and medical aid. We have such solid network of people who believe in us and believe in our cause and are so strong that the guys who teach at 18 Delta Special Forces Medic School for the last 12 years come and teach our guys advanced starting from nothing. TCCC, eventually going into prolonged field care, a dash of that, and eventually going to austere environment care. And at the end of the course, some guys are sewing people up with fishing hooks and fishing line because you're in austere environment care. You are in Burma right now for 3 months. That's the image that we put in everyone's head because these are missions that we support. You're in Burma, not supposed to be there, and there's a human rights violation, genocide going on that are obliterating women, children out of for the last 15 years. And this past year, starting in January, our sister organization and with Dave Eubanks, Free Burma Rangers, they're out there in the front for decades. And because no one cares, you won't see about it in the news. But how can we equip you guys where you walk in there with the medical supplies on your back, you don't leave for 3 months. And by the way, you might encounter 15 plus casualties and whatever you have. And that's on week one. You're there for another 3 months. How do you reuse this
Damn.
stuff? How do you do these things? And not just do it, like I said, but know that you're with God and that you have the ability to preach to these people and sow seeds of hope, faith, love into them as they are going through the worst tragedies in the world.
So, out of all those experiences you have, the selection courses that you chose from, the crucibles that you refined down, if you were able to, have you been able to determine if you had to strip away everything that you did, take out like the medical training and all that stuff, because that's essential for the job? But I'm just talking about the refinement crucible piece. Out of all those experiences, is there one that you see to be more valuable than others? Like if you could only do one thing with your new people coming on board, what would that be?
So, good question. So we beat this in our guys' heads, especially because we just graduated yesterday. So I talked about the three pillars. Pillars as in equal across the board. Not one or the other to hold the organization up. And if we had to do one, we don't even teach a single tactic. We don't teach a single thing for the whole entire next day. The first whole entire day, we lay a strong foundation of their personal relationship with Christ, what it says in the Bible, because a lot of these people are lukewarm believers at best.
Mhm.
We On the intro, halfway through, as we start evangelizing, as we start sharing, you know, what are your authorities to be here? Who sent you? Who are you on behalf of the United States? Are you on behalf of the government? Are you with NATO? Are you with whoever? I come under the banner of Jesus Christ, and he loves you so much that he sent us and our team to do this, this, and this as per scripture. James 1 tac 27 says, the religion that our Father calls is pure and faultless is look after the widows and the orphans in their time of distress and not to succumb to the evils of this world. So we come under the authority of Christ. Because before the government, before law enforcement, before any of the stuff, if someone took your child for human trafficking, if you were having something like a human rights violation or anything that was going on, who did you go to for thousands and thousands of years? You went to the church. But for some reason in America and the Western civilization and churches all around, we forgot that. So if one thing that they could take away out of all of this, and we reiterate and everything that, and we smash it to into their heads, you have to have a strong foundation of your personal relationship with Christ, your knowledge on Christ, and the way forward. Because guess what, we as special operators, and you could attest to this, we can push it to our all this experience in our life we've encountered. It left when I say the Army or the military or the Marine Corps does really well, it gives you 2 things after you get out: a broke back and empty pockets, and then a tormented
It's
soul.
accurate.
Yeah, and then one of the biggest ones is a tormented soul. It's through your time, if you do 4 years, you're almost unscathed, but as you go into do 10, 15, 20 years, it's slow moral decay, and what we accept to talk to others, if you talk and if we talk to the way we talk to our team guys, we'd be fired, we'd be an HR problem or anything like that. What we have in the military and ultimately what we leave with is moral decay and erosion. So we have to refix ourselves. We have to hone it back down to, as a sniper, to what is true. We have to zero ourselves in life. And what is that true declination and true zero? To find our true, it is the word of God, and that is the foundation. As Christ says, I will build my church on the rock.
Where do you think that moral decay comes from? And do you think it's possible to serve a career without having it?
That's a really good question because we came up in the GWAT. We came up in 2 wars kicking, and how do you take someone without, you know, taking a 18-year-old kid who's 120 pounds, soaking wet, uh, building him in the Marine Corps in boot camp, and all you do is teach him how to march, and now he comes out there on fire and said, like, "I am the most ruthless killer in the world, and I have to, shoot, move, and communicate and achieve the objective, by repelling the enemy's assault or fire maneuver." He's been beaten that head. So is it possible? I mean, you have to strip away, just like in boot camp, it takes our personal identity away, and you have to reform them to be able to go into the meat grinder of the war. And like, let's put ourselves not in the GWAT, but let's put ourselves in the mindset of World War II, where you have to charge that machine gun pit and you just watch waves and waves of your buddies get massacred, D-Day style. And you just know my only objective is to take down this thing. And I don't do whatever. So I think it is very important that the military complex does that. But through the process, when we get out and when it's time to hang up that hat, do we ever get healed? Are we ever fully transitioned into the civilian life like that? We might now have recognized it in like the last 6 to 8 years, and we have TRS or whatever they want to call it now of transitioning. It's like transition readiness system or whatever the each branch calls it. But whenever I'm about to get out, what do I do? How do I write a resume? How do I apply for college? What are my skills and benefits? All the military does that now, but we don't transition ourselves, our hearts. So I think it is very important that the military still does this. I think it is very crucial in war. But at the same time, we in boot camp, we in society, we in the military and back-to-back deployments, we preach that there is no place for God in war. So therefore, if we came from something of ethical and moral compass, we shoved that away, and you had to hear it throughout your time. There's no place for God in war. There's no place for God in war. So we, as maybe however 18 years prior to us going to boot camp or in the military or your first deployment, we shoved God away and we learn what we did, and that is one thing: is to accomplish the mission at whatever it takes to complete the mission.
Hey guys, Shawn Ryan here. I'm super excited to announce a project that I've been working on. I partnered with Ironclad for their newest original series, Target Intelligence PSYOP. It's an 8-part audio experience where we find out who is really pulling the strings. Buy it today, it's PSYOPshow.com. Link is in the show notes. The stakes have never been higher.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've heard me talk about Firecracker Farm and their hot salt. You probably heard other people talk about it as well. If you haven't tried it yet, let me just tell you, you're missing out on some serious flavor. Their hot salt is delicious, and it really makes pretty much anything that you put it on even more delicious. It's hot, but when you use it in moderation, it's not too hot, and the flavor that it adds enhances without overpowering. It is handmade, super premium, and comes in awesome stainless steel push-button grinders like the one I have in my hand right here. You can take them anywhere. Hot sauce, if you've had this experience, can very easily overpower other flavors and always runs out quickly when it's good. Hot salt lasts and lasts. The push grinder holds over 500 plus pumps, and when you consider the refill it comes with, it's thousands of servings, and it's a great deal and a lot cheaper than the sauce. For those of you that like flavor but hesitate because it might be too hot, you can mix it with sea salt to tone it down and still enjoy the awesome flavor. In my personal experience, you can modulate how much comes out of the dispenser. You're in total control of the amount of heat you serve yourself. So if you would like to support our show and give Alex and his family business a shot, head over to firecracker.farm and use the code IRONCLAD to get a 15% discount on your first order. You will be very glad that you did. Firecracker.farm. How'd you make the jump from military to what you're doing now in the NGO space? It seems like obviously there's flavors, and like you said, you've taken these experiences and the desire to have a purpose and an impact, but having that desire and actually practically being able to do it and go into the NGO world is, they're two very different skill sets.
Yeah. So it all starts with my testimony of how it all came to happen. And because otherwise I would have done my 20 years active duty. But instead I did about 15 years active duty. My youngest child, so I have 4 children. My youngest born, Amelia, when she was born, I was a Marine over at Fort Benning. I just got selected to go to a certain program uh, over with a JSOC unit, and all at the same time, Corona hit. My youngest daughter was born with 2 rare diseases, and as do you want the short story, or the short version or the long version?
It's up to you, man.
Okay. So as I said, I ultimately did 7 back-to-back deployments, uh, all through various different special operations, different units, everything like this. Um, Everything was still at high intensity level, and it all started, in my first deployment when I was a turret gunner. And one of the times we got blown up, it changed my life that day. And my testimony, it's filmed on the internet, so I don't want to go too much into detail on it. But quickly, that started in it formed a flame inside me, and eventually enraged me so much to a temperature that I couldn't control. I then um, only felt the purpose. And growing up as a Christian, I like I said, we were told that, like, not told, but society, movies, everything collectively has the feel and saying that there's no place for gun war. So every time I would go out to deploy, that would kind of be pushed off to the side, come back. I'd try to retransition, go to church, but still, in between deployments, we're going to different selections or special operations schools, jump, dive, free fall, seer, scout sniper school, special forces sniper school, and all these variants in between, and then deployment, deployment, deployment. So when as I was doing this, it eventually builds up to 15 years of this, and now I'm an instructor. I briefly taught at 9 months at airborne school, then went to that selection and in that program that I just talked about, and trained alongside with the 75th Ranger Regiment and certain programs inside of that. As the first Marine to do so, and then taught a rotation of Army Sniper School, and then boom, my youngest daughter is born with 2 rare diseases. Right from her birth, she gets sent to the NICU. Then she stays in there in intense programs, and then gets life flighted from Fort Benning to the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, like 7 states away. And
Wow.
my wife is with her. I'm active duty. I have 3 other kids. I'm doing this at the same time. Boom, Corona hits. Time elapses. 6 months go by. My wife and my youngest daughter is still in the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia while I'm trying to figure out all this stuff. Corona hits. The Marine Corps comes back and says, like, 9+ months later, or a year or so, says, hey, we're not going to allocate a Force Recon Marine to go to that specific program. The Marine Corps is not going to allocate a position over there. So I get pulled back out. All this is happening, and it all comes crashing down. Eventually, when I called the doctor one time, about 6 months in, uh, I say, "Hey, when's Amelia and Charlotte gonna be able to come back? What's the?" And they said they don't know what's happening. They can't get everything under control. She's born with 2 rare diseases: Beckwith-Wiedemann syndrome, and known as BWS, and hyperinsulinism. And that
Hmm.
at her age, if she doesn't develop from now until the age of 8, cancers and tumors like that in the blink of an eye, that is what's happening right now with BWS. Extreme growth rapidly out of nowhere, and then hyperinsulinism with an uncontrolled diet because she's such a newborn state. If her sugar dips below, her blood sugar dips below uh, 50, 60, whatever, it quickly goes into um, unconsciousness, to seizures, to eventually death. But while that's happening, and that it dips below 50, that's the clock ticking of brain cells dying. And how do you know if they're
Oh, wow.
unconscious if they're sleeping? So, and it's supposed to be diet controlled. So all this stuff is pounding. And they said eventually, they said that you only can live in 2 areas in the United States: the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, or a children's hospital outside of Houston. And I was like, well, I'm in the Marine Corps. What do I do? And I go back to my command. I say, hey, I only can live in 2 areas in the United States. They said, well, we don't have a military base there. and um, you're right before early retirement. You can try to file for early retirement, VERP, in the Marine Corps Volunteer Early Retirement Program. So I file it in,
Hmm.
and because we're a critical needs MOS, military occupation, um, it gets denied. I had 9 months till I hit the early retirement age, and they wouldn't approve that waiver. And they knew the situation, all this other stuff. So I was like, well, what do I do? And I was like, so before my career, on my third or fourth, I think in between, or fourth and fifth deployment, I had another family, like a pregnancy that was really, really hard. And guys like us, um, when things are happening in life, we don't really know how to process it all. So instead, a lot of us put our eyes to the ground and our nose to the ground and dig further, and was like, hey, I only know how to control in my team, and keep digging and try to ultimately lose on both ends. I chose my job over my family at the time, and I learned from that. So when I heard this thing of like, hey, this is the only two areas you can, I was like, well, I'm going to choose my family over my career. So, as I'm about to get out, all of a sudden the doctor's like, hey, now that you're getting out, hey, there's a $1.2 million medical bill that Amelia has because he's been here for 6 months. 12 plus specialists visit her multiple times a day to save her life, poke, prod, everything for 6 months, to include the life flight to and from Fort Benning all the way to Philadelphia and back. That piece of paper and that bill was the weight of the world on my shoulders. And I just
Oh, I
talked about
bet.
all up until this point, I never reconciled of those deployments. That battle rhythm that was so unsustainable to my family, to me, to anything, because I just kept nose to the ground. This was my purpose. This is what the military does. This is what back to back deployments. There's a GWAT time. Uh, so, as a strong believer, we call it's the enemy. So in scripture, it says, "Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, walks around like a roaring lion, seeking to whom he may devour." And that day, he planted and he came to devour me. He planted that voice in our head. And through veteran suicide, through veterans depression and PTSD and all this other stuff, we we know this so much throughout time because of the situation of what's been plaguing our veterans. I call it the veterans curse. Up until this happened to me, I just didn't understand how someone's so dumb and stupid. Like, hey, you have so much to live for, man, your family, blah, blah, blah. But once you get that voice in your head and it starts turning up, how I describe it, it was like a jammer. And once it kept turning up and up, all else was just white noise. It was jamming my signal
Mm.
in life. You couldn't get anything through to me. And this voice was so cranked up. It was like I said, it was jamming my signal to receive that. That continued to go on for weeks, and that voice kept getting louder and louder, especially as I entertained it. Um, the only reason why your daughter is going through what is happening is because of you. You dedicate your life to combat and to making yourself a weapon and burning everyone else around you during that battle rhythm. That kept getting in my head. The only reason why your family is suffering because of the life that you chose to live, because you kept doing these deployments, all this other stuff, dragging them along the way. That kept turning in. It kept going over weeks and weeks and weeks, mixed with the situation. Um, how are you going to pay for a $1.2 million medical bill? You don't have college. You don't do anything like that. Walmart, any of that stuff doesn't care how, if you can shoot at someone from a mile away and run, however fast, no one cares about that. What are you going to do to pay for that? Um, Next thing it keeps popping up is eventually, um, so now one night specifically, I'm in my garage and I'm biking. Um, and I'm doing a recumbent bike, and it's what I do to relieve stress is workout, exercise, anything like that. So this one night, the voice is turning head, just like everything I just said. I'm powering through it. I'm powering through it. I'm really, really struggling. That voice is cranked up so much that I can't hear anything else. So I'm biking. 45 minutes goes by. It says exactly the same stuff I just said. What are you gonna do to do this? You can't. No, you don't have a degree. You don't have any of these skills that acquire to anything else than that. How are you going to pay for $1.2 million? Your family's suffering because of you. The only reason why um, uh, your daughter is born right now with those rare diseases is because of what you did.
Mm.
Your family would be better off without you. If you kill yourself right now, your family will get $400,000 to $500,000. Your family would be better off without you. They're only suffering right now because of you. And it logically, an equation, if there's a repeated thing that's suffering and beating that thing down, and you take that out of the equation and then add something that benefits this thing, again, all else is white noise. Not a single thought could go through my head. If I told you this, just like sitting here right now, I'd be like, man, you have so much to live for. You have a family, all this. But when a veteran or something like that gets that voice in their head and cranks it up, that's exactly what it is. So an hour goes by. I'm still staring at the gun. All these things are cranking up. I'm getting more intense and more intense, beating it up and more. As it keeps going by, about an hour and a half goes by, and I call one of my friends. And because you hear in the military all the time, if you're truly at your wit's end, call someone and maybe they'll help you. And I was like, man, I don't want this to fall on deaf ears. I don't want this to be a fake call. But like, I can't think of one good reason why I shouldn't blow my brains out right now. My children are sleeping in the next room. And still, I couldn't think of one. I was like, man, maybe I can call this guy and maybe he could give me one good reason why I shouldn't do it right now. This is not a false call. This is nothing. So I call him. He doesn't pick up. Call him again. Doesn't pick up. And I was like, Roger, God, that's it. That's all. I tried. I reached out. I tried to do this. There's, I'm biking. 2+ hours go by now. I keep staring at the gun and I walk over eventually. And as I grab it and put it to my head, a random statistic pops in my head. It says, if a parent commits suicide, your children then are 10 times more likely to grow up and commit suicide.
Yep.
And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe that stat just ran in my head. The next thing, I have 3 girls and 1 boy. A daughter raised without a father in the household is about 5 to 6 times more likely to have preteen pregnancies. And I was like, man, I can't believe this is going through. Again, I have a son. A son raised without a father in the household is, again, 5 to 6 more times likely to grow up and be incarcerated. I hear all this stuff and I'm like, man, I can't, next thing, if I do this right now, what's going to wake my kids up in the next room over? Who's going to find their dead body? So, and another thing is my youngest daughter is 7 states away fighting for her life to stay on this world. And her war hero, dad, whatever, can't even hack it, can't even fake it one more day to give his children the life they deserve. And I put my gun down. I was like, I can't believe this all what ran through my head right now. So I walk in my living room and I put on the TV and it's Cornerstone Television, which is a Christian channel. And I was like, I'm so messed up right now. And I was like, as a sniper, I relate everything to that. I said, dude, I am off on my zero. I need to re-zero myself in life and I need to fix it on what is true. And what is true is that foundation of Christ. I was like, I will get out. I will work 3 to 5 jobs. I'll work day and night. I'll do whatever it takes to give my children the father they deserve.
Today's episode is brought to you by DeleteMe. We have talked a lot about people getting caught in timeshare scams, falling for pig butchering schemes, or getting those mysterious text messages that you have no idea where they came from. I've spoken with guests who hunt hackers and work to protect people's personal information. But here's the thing. Your data, your personal data, your name, your address, your phone number, even your relatives' names can be bought and sold online by data brokers, putting you at risk for identity theft, scams, and harassment. Now, that is why we have partnered with DeleteMe. Like the experts we've had on the show who actively stop hackers and scammers, DeleteMe works behind the scenes to remove your personal information from hundreds of people search and data broker sites. They do it continuously, securely, and without outsourcing. Plus, real privacy advisors are available for custom requests so you're never on your own. DeleteMe has been the leading service for removing personally identifiable information for over 15 years. They verify your data is actually on these sites before requesting removal, reducing unnecessary exposure. Wirecutter named them the #1 service of its kind, and judges, journalists, creators, and podcasters all trust DeleteMe to protect their privacy. Nowadays, this isn't just a nice to have. I feel like it's an essential. And DeleteMe makes it super easy. Just create your account, enter in your basic information on the dashboard, and they're going to do the rest. Within about a week, the first report arrives showing exactly what has been removed. Take control of your digital privacy today at joindeleteme.com/ironclad and use the coupon code Ironclad, all one word, all uppercase. You can also scan the QR code to get started. It's one of the few services actively keeping your personal information out of the wrong hands.
So I get out real quick, and you said about the transition to the NGO world. So I get out, and I keep bringing my children to church. I try to keep playing that. And what do guys like us do? Guys like us in the soft community and snipers and everything, we get picked up with what used to be formerly called as Blackwater and private contracting. So I immediately get picked up with what used to be called that, and get hired on as a sniper. And it seems good if you have to pay. That pays 6 figures, and it's good if you have to pay a $1.2 million medical bill. At the same time, there's something called the direct affiliate program that transitions me. The next day I get out, the next day I show up in the reserves. So that was able to help for TRICARE again, because when I was getting out, TRICARE got dropped off. So therefore, that 1.2 was falling on me. So I was getting out, and like that night, when I start calling around, I was like, I'm getting out. So I get a call, and people were telling me, hey, pick up the next day. We'll at 3rd Force Recon in the reserve. Hey, we'll take care of you and your family. It'll knock a massive chunk off of that off, starting with, that private military contracting company. You'll start with 6 figures. You'll be able to start paying us off. So as I move now to outside of the Philadelphia and try to restart this new transition life, I'm over at that compound for contracting, and I'm walking through the halls of Blackwater. And all of a sudden, it felt like I got struck by lightning. Every fiber in my being, every hair on my head was standing straight up. And that's the first and only time I ever heard the audible voice of God. And it said, you have to save them. And there was no context or nothing. I was like, what's going on? Like, what? And then, so I walk in the hall, I make a left, and there's the lounge. And I see on the TV, Kabul, Afghanistan, about to fall. And I say, what can I do? The next voice said, anything. I was like, Roger. So I called 10 people, 10 people called 10 people, 10 people called 10 people. And quickly, we found that there is a family of 6 dual citizen Afghan and American family in Kandahar who needed to get rescued out of Afghanistan as it's collapsing, being taken over by the Taliban, war mass exiting, and that whole debacle that we all know. So I'm like, Roger, now I have a family. And then I found out that they got given 6 days, and in 6 days, the Taliban are going to come, and they have the oldest 14-year-old girl and 11-year-old girl is going to be raped and sold off to the Taliban on day 6. So I get given a mission, I get given a timeline, I get given mission authority from God, and it was like, okay, well, what can I do? Anything. So quickly, 24 hours roll, I get given that family mission, and within 24 hours, I had a 50-acre compound in Alaska, a training area. We quickly started an LLC so we get protected. It was myself and a Lieutenant Colonel Ranger Regiment retired guy, and we formed it full of various special operations veterans to go in to Afghanistan and pull out our Americans who we left behind and our vetted SIV interpreters. So 24 hours, I now have a mission. I have a 50-acre compound in Alaska. I have a company. I have a team. And then 24 hours roll by again. The team starts coming together. 24 hours after that, I have a plane and authorization to land in Afghanistan. Day 5, they moved their way from Kandahar to Kabul, Afghanistan, and go through Abbey Gate 45 minutes before it blows up. And we get that family out of there. And man, that was a massive Hail Mary. And all assets after that shifted to us. And in 2 weeks, quickly, boom, 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 boom. We rescued 55 Americans and vetted interpreters out of Afghanistan during the fall of Kabul, and then that's when we got nominated, voted, and approved to go to DC, and all NGOs, all State Department, all these other OGAs, and everything was combining to see what happened in the fall of Kabul, what you did, and what you could do in the future because there's still more left behind. So we had this massive meeting. We combined everyone, and everyone had to go stand up and say who they are, what they did, and what they can do in the future. And by that point, Afghan was shut down and locked down. Well, I was running rat lines in and out, and I wasn't pushing 17,000 out. I wasn't pushing 15,000 out or any of that stuff. I was choosing HVIs, high valued individuals who we knew who were validated and verified. And I got them and their family who lived here out through this route, out through there. And eventually, when I stood up and said what we could do, I said, ultimately, we're trying to drain a lake with a coffee straw. And I was the only one. Everyone else had no ability to get anyone else out. But we were able to slowly take individuals and HVIs out where no one else could. So I said my piece, and that's when during a break, a guy who is named, who and friends with, Chad Robichaux, comes up to me. He's like, "Hey man,
Yep.
I really like your story. Tell me more about yourself. Tell me your background." So I tell him everything like that. And he's like, "Man, that's crazy. What would you do if I told you I had the same background? I served in those same units, and would you like to go on a mission with me to go pull out the rest of them on a 2-man unsupported behind enemy lines mission to go do that?" And I said, I don't know who you are, but if there's more people who are left behind, then my mission's not done, and I'll go with you. Like fast forward 5 to 7 days later, we're on a plane, and I like Google real quick. I'm like, who is this guy? And he ended up being like, obviously a world ranked fighter, does have the same background, everything like that. I'm like, okay, cool. So we go in from Tajikistan, sneak in, and that's in his book, Saving Aziz, all the same exact stories of me and him doing this. And also, that meeting that we talked about was then the predecessor that formed Save Our Allies, with various different people, Sarah Verardo, Chad Robichaux, Dan Stiz, and a whole bunch of other people coming together to form, which now is called Save Our Allies. And we helped stand up the sixth pillar. So quickly, we go into Afghanistan now, and um, we use our backgrounds to go in from Tajikistan, go on the Panjshir River Valley of Tajik and Afghanistan. And we build 90 miles of border reconnaissance to find out routes that are viable to get Americans and SIV interpreters, vetted ones, in and out of Afghanistan. And how do we do this in class 5 rapids, temperatures that are so cold of the water that if the water stopped, it would be frozen over. Oh, by the way, it's Taliban guards all throughout the river valley. On the other side, Tajik guards all throughout that. And because that was the last Soviet bloc country, the Russians helped try to provide that for Americans or Afghans crossing over and flooding, and then being a larger problem. And halfway through Tajikistan, it eventually touches China, and there was a weird battle handover that blocked along the border from the Russians and Tajik guards to eventually, at a certain part, it was Chinese militants and Tajik guards that blocked all on the Panjshir Valley. So we're, duck and diving and going to sneak around to do these 90 miles of border recon, do fording reps where you have to cross the river to see how it's viable, what is the best ways to cross, how can you swim across, how can you get others across. And so me and Chad, we swam across multiple times. And on one specific time, at the end of it or at the beginning of it, when we started pulling and building the viable routes and helping people, I came out of the river valley one day on the first one that we did. And when I swam across, and that ultimately went on to save 77 Americans and vetted SIV interpreters, I came out of the river valley and completely hit me like a ton of bricks. I came out of there and said, that's when I had an epiphany and said, this what it was all for. All those back to back to back deployments, all those special operations schools, all that experience was not for what I convinced myself that God must want me to be on this world to be his war vessel. I was going through all these deployments. My buds are dying or getting blown up or any of this stuff. I'm surviving. I'm thriving. I'm going all these selections and all these different soft schools, graduate at the top of my class. I'm still a believer. He wants me to do this. all to say, when I came out of the River Valley one day, and I came out, I was like, this was all that was for. When I realized that my life goal was not going from taking lives, but to saving lives, it was at 1 degree off. And I thought I had it so figured out. God didn't send me all that to be his war vessel. He sent me that to be the guy who was qualified to use a blend of everything to go save his children, to go behind enemy lines, use the same skills and technology and all that other stuff that equipped me, not to do it for the US government, not to do it for America, not to do it for whatever, but to do it in his name. And man, that changed my life. That moment then there, I came out of the river, rebaptized on fire for Christ, and that is where the birth of Heroes for Humanity started. And quickly as we build this thing up, 9 months goes by, and the Ukraine invasion happened. So, and we'll put a pin on there if you want to talk about Ukraine. But this is how the birthstone of everything of transitioning out, take a collective of everything, and how do you equip it, and transition into the civilian world in the NGO space, do this all, but not do it for pay, not do it for private contracting, not do it for the government, not do it for America, but do this for God and for the right reason. Ultimately, we are a ministry. We all believe in God, but that is not criteria to join us. Like I always say, if you're not a believer, that's fine. Come on a few missions with us, and you will by the end. You will see amazing miracles that will happen out of nowhere and does not make sense. Besides that, we use the gifts and talents of the Lord to be his hands and feet. And like I said in Philippians 4:13, that I can do all things in Christ who strengthens me.
I mean, it's a fantastic answer. It begs the question, how do you decide where you can allocate your, no resources are unlimited. So in the production notes, I have some wave tops from 2025, and feel free to fill these in, but I just want to give people some idea of the breadth and depth and scope. So January, you guys were out in the Pasadena fires in California. You did counter trafficking and intel work. You identified and located 8 exploited and trafficked children. You've done international missions. So April, you were in Thailand, 7.7 earthquake there. You went to Cuba, medical aid, Burma with the Free Burma Ranges, humanitarian medical aid, Israel, 92 American families rescued from Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, Zimbabwe, humanitarian aid and evangelism, Zambia, agricultural building, feeding 1,000 people. I heard you had Gaza on your schedule. Who knows how that's going to impact you, or if you're still going to go based off of what just happened recently. But that's the wave tops for 2025. And I'm sure there's a bunch of other things that aren't even mentioned in that. How do you decide where you're going to go? When assets are limited, how are you guys picking which one that you're going to allocate towards?
That's a question I get all the time. So how I build a system and everything from there is, when something comes up, just like in the military, a warning order or something, a situation develops that you might be tasked or feel called to do, or to go out and pull your skills. So a few things have to happen. It has to shock the system, like the Kerrville floods, hundreds dead, children, everyone missing, dead, all this other stuff like that. The Palisades fires, everything shocks the system, overloads the government. Just like the Hurricane Helene and everything like that. FEMA never came, or there's a long spree in between that. And if it shocks the system and overloads the government, it always ends up there's a gap. In between that gap lies a mission. And we take that mission and that gap, and we take it to prayer. We say, Lord, is this something that you wanted us to do? Is this something that you want us to be involved in? And we pray about it. We meditate on it. We ask our wise counsel, so it filters through like 5+ wise, strong Christian warriors. And we say, is this something that you want us to do, Lord? If so, give us the resources, give us all the allocation that we need to do your mission, to go help save souls, help people physically in precision personnel rescue, humanitarian medical aid, and evangelism. Let us have all the assets that we need, Lord, and make it as clear and smoothly as possible. And if not, Lord, if this is not something you want us to be involved in and do, then give us a distraction. Stop this right now and end it, so we can allocate our mind, resource, and talent to another area. And so when we take that to prayer, we meditate on it and everything like that. That's when that's when we either act or stay in silence. Gaza, you mentioned, we've been praying about Gaza for 12 to 15 months, and it's still on the prayer table. And we don't know what 2026 looks like, or anything like what's going to happen due to the political dynamic. And I don't like to really talk about Gaza because it's such a polarizing topic. But here's the thing: we're not heroes for America. We're not heroes for the government or anything like that. It's heroes for humanity. All I care about is humanity. Um, are there people having human rights violation? I don't care what side of any of that stuff is. We are non-political at all. We just go to help serve those people, do the right thing for the right reason, and it doesn't have to be worth it to do the right thing. So we've been in silence and we've been in prayer the whole time, and we don't know what 2026 looks like. We don't know when or if we'll ever go, and we'll see if things align and point to go. We'll go. And I'm using that as an example of Gaza. It could be Sudan,
Yeah.
South Sudan. It could be various other countries that I'm not going to say on here. It could be whatever, but that's the process it takes. As to shock the system, overload the government, and in that gap, we take it to prayer.
If quality tactical gear matters to you and you are not subscribed to TacPack, well, you are missing out. Every month, TacPack delivers a carefully curated box of professional grade gear from trusted brands like Nine Line, Emissary Development, Infinite Defense, and Steel City Arsenal. You get to choose your box, the TacPack Standard, which is a $59.95 cost, shipped, and you're going to receive $90 to $120 worth of tactical essentials every month, or the TacPack Plus, which is going to cost you $139.95 shipped. But that's packed with $240 to $300 of premium gear. Use code READY556 to get $556 worth of gear in your first TacPack. The November Plus box alone is worth $446, and with code READY556, you'll get another $110 worth of free gear. So visit tacpack.com and get the kind of gear that doesn't just sit on the shelf. Back to the show. I want to thank our partners over at Ammo Squared. They've built what they call America's Ammunition Reserve. Basically, this is an ammo savings account. You can sign up, pick from more than 70 different calibers. You can set an auto-buy budget and either choose a shipping schedule, or you can just let your personal reserve grow. Over time, your ammo stacks up and is stored for free in their climate-controlled facilities in Texas and Idaho until you are ready to ship. There are no minimums, there's no extra fees. It works whether you have a small budget or you just don't want to drop a few grand all at once. Thank you so much, Ammo Squared, for providing this cool service and for supporting the show. So when you guys decide, let's use Israel as an example, where you were able to get 92 families out, or any international, Ukraine would be an example as well. Obviously, each of those countries has an established government. I'm assuming, having never worked in the NGO space, that it could probably be hit or miss. Sometimes they may want your help and appreciate it, and other times perhaps they don't want you anywhere near there. So how much do you rely upon actual support from the host nation government? Or are you working independently, perhaps gathering intel where you can, or sharing and collaborating intel? Is it a joint? And I guess this probably depends on the location, but is it often a joint collaboration, or are you guys there working independently?
No, that's I hate to say this because I hate when people in the military always say METDC or mission dictates or whatever. But that truly is it first? Is the country willing to work with us or anything like that? The next thing is there's missionaries almost in every single country, even if Christianity is outlawed, even if 36 countries outlaw having a Bible in that country. Some are punishable by death, some are imprisonment for life. But we know as a church, we know as a ministry that almost every country has missionaries out there. And like I said, I think you might think of it, or a lot of people who don't fully understand how the church works or ministry works is like, is you can is there a church that we can directly link into in a network? Because there's massive churches all around the world. There's massive missionaries all around the world. Can we plug in with that? And how can we help? So we reach out to the network and say, what is going on in this country? How many churches are out there? Who's doing what? And we now have on the ground person who can connect us with. How can we help facilitate your missions group, your church, your people, and anything like that? And that's one of the ways that how we can link in with that. So So we go in as the same exact thing as Samaritan Purse does, the same thing that like various church organizations. Your local church has a missions department that does tons of missions in Africa, in South America, in Southeast Asia, in all throughout Europe, um, all throughout the world. So we tap our network and use that and use those abilities to now have a tried and true system that is repeatable and scalable because they're out there on the front and living those things. They know the ground truth of what's happening. They know the people who are in need, and they have a lot of the resources, or at least access to the resources. So we plug that in to those certain places. That's a very broad array when you say country. That's how one of the ways we do so. So obviously you go on the State Department website and you look at the threat value of, hey, what does America deem South Sudan? What does America deem Israel right now on the threat level? What is it? How are they empathetic to America? And this is all open source information. I'm not sharing anything that people can't and openly should do whenever they travel. The State Department has a website that you sign up for, the STEP program. So whenever you go to a country, you assign yourself to that country and they have to keep you on the books. And if any natural disaster, if any terrorist regime, if anything crazy happens, you are a known American in that country and they have to keep you on the books to protect you because that's what the State Department's job is. That is an overarching, like broad brush of a lot of this stuff, mixing with the Christian network, the church network that we have, and missionaries who are out there, delivering the gospel in places. If you deliver the gospel, they'll chop off your head, you know?
How do you prepare your people for, and not every environment is like this, but again, this is probably more international environments or conflict zones where civilians and combatants are often in very close proximity and where the need is, not to use the word twice, needed most is generally closest to the front lines. How do you prepare your people for that?
Yeah, so as we talked about, we just finished up our ANS INDOC, our assessment and selection INDOC program to assess the multiple things of the whole entire holistic view of that person and how they're willing to absorb all the mass information we're flooding them. Are they able to apply it? And then we run scenarios that have role players out, and it's based off of rescues that we've personally been in. And we say, hey, here you have to plan a mission, and at the end of it all, we're running scenarios. Hey, here's a mission, and here's the information we had at the time. I'm not going to give you anything else that wasn't given for us at the time, and I'll insert that during the planning process. And then I want to see, and we'll have role players. We're gonna see that the plan that you decided. We're gonna go out and we're playing it right now, real time, and we will play it exactly how it would unroll in real life. So these guys are now, whatever they learned, they're now applying it. They're seeing how the actual effects would happen or did happen, or if it was successful or not. First one, for counter trafficking operations, not necessarily counter trafficking, because that's not what we do. We rescue, precision personnel rescue, we rescue trafficked children. So, number one, did you rescue that child or person? Okay. Number two, did you do it legally and ethically? Okay. Number three, did anyone get hurt? And then, if so, all those things check off, then mission success. However you skin the cat, whatever, those are all lessons learned. This is their first time doing it. And it's the maximum way to have maximum learning. So, as we keep doing all this other stuff, how do we prepare them? Like I said, our course is deeply, deeply blending everything that I've ever had happen to me, or every school I've really been in, and how it's their critical skills that they can go, like you said, frontline ministry, like Ukraine, for example. How do you go in the invasion of Ukraine? We were there for the first 9 months of the war. How do you go if you feel called and we designate, this person has the skills and talents, this person is equipped with it, they will go on our behalf, and not just on our behalf, they will go side by side with me. So I'll lead it from the front, be like a team leader in a team, and I'll have 2, 3, maybe 4 or 5. It all matters about the but we normally work in a very, very small team, and then we go out there and we do these things. And now they didn't just go to Indoc; they now followed up with monthly training, bi-monthly training, and they're growing this whole entire time. We're doing real world missions. We're rescuing trafficked children in the United States. We're continuously growing our skills, OSINT skills, going to various different courses, civilian courses to continue to sharpen ourselves so that we can go on and do frontline ministry. Okay, hey, are you an EMT yet? Okay, cool. Are you advanced EMT? Are you a paramedic? Did you register for nursing school yet? Or how do we keep growing so that, okay, you have medical aid? Humanitarian aid is relatively simple because if you have medical aid and you have the supplies for life-saving equipment or anything like that, humanitarian aid usually goes hand in hand. But now you have the credentials also. You mentioned Israel when we pulled out 92 Americans who were trapped behind that. I took a vascular surgeon who's been through our NDOP, and he just graduated actually recently, but he's been on multiple missions, but just doing Hurricane Helene and local missions here. And he felt called to serve to go into Israel and do that with me. And I only took two other people. So I bled everything I could into them. And this guy has a skill that I can't replicate because he's a vascular surgeon. He's a doctor and all this other stuff. So we went in there because it was the 12-day war with Israel and Iran exchanging hypersonic ballistic missiles back and forth, and people were getting blown up all around us. But there were still massive amounts of Americans who couldn't get out. So we planned
Mhm.
an operation just like we do in the military. Hey, this isn't complicated, guys. When we did the Afghan evacs and stuff like that, just going across, doing a forward rep, doing a border reconnaissance, evaluating those passageways, doing forward reps, swimming across, setting up a rope bridge, and swinging back and people across. Man, that's what we've been all doing for last. If you did 4 years, 8 years, 12 years, 20 years, that's pretty simple. The simplicity of it. So when we go out and plan a massive operation, it's not much different from just playing a military operation. Collect all information you can, develop a ORM, choose a highly selected team that you feel can bring capabilities to there. Because guess what? If I bring a special operator or whatever, regardless if he's preferably an 18 Delta qualified person for they've been to SOCM or Special Forces Medical Sergeants Course and their prolonged field care and stuff. Preferably, that's our criteria, and we keep that and up. But if they're a paramedic and stuff like that, what is their gifts and talents? Okay, do they have a military background? Do I have to now teach them, you know, some of the essential skills that are required to survive an austere environment or an environment where it's a near peer adversary like Ukraine and Russia? How do we take this whole entire blended thing? So being very selective about who goes on what mission. Um, and what capability they bring to the table. And then being a leader who leads from the front. So as I'm going on this, they're not just, hey, here, go to this, go to that. They're going side by side and they're learning and shadowing and developing these things with me or us and our team leaders. So
That makes sense. Last question for you today, just be respectful of your time, but probably this is the most important one. How can people support or help Heroes for Humanity?
yeah. So you can go on our website at theheroesforhumanity.org, spelling out for FOR. And they can go on that. They can go on our Instagram, which is very, very up to date and published of information of what's happening in the world, of sharing our three pillars and evangelizing what amazing people are doing, not just us, but like Free Burma Rangers and all of our sister organizations, what they're doing, amazing people who are doing in life, not just us. So we are sharing the good news. We're pushing good vibes. And so they can follow us on Instagram at heroes.for.humanity. To stay up to date. And then they can find our information and they go on our website, they go on the Instagram and message us and say, how can I help share my time, treasure, and talent to be a part of this? Because ultimately, this is not a me problem. This is a we problem. This is an American problem. This is a global problem. And when we go to heaven, we don't go to American heaven. We don't go to Mexican heaven. We go to Ukrainian heaven. We go to heaven. And as scripture says, for the least of these, my brothers and sisters, you have done unto me. Are we only caring about what's happening here right now? If we have the ability to help out here, then absolutely we should. If we have the ability to help out here in a different country and you see human rights violations and genocide happening, then absolutely we should do that. That should be the pinnacle of the universe, and all assets should shift onto that. So please contact us, see what you would like to be a part of this. We are a nonprofit. We are a 501c3. We're not just nonprofit 501c3. We're also a ministry. We're not just a ministry, we're also a movement, because we want to encourage all of you guys. I don't care if you're a military, first responder, a healthcare professional, or just someone who wants to do something to do the right thing for the right reason. Contact us and see how you can be a part of it. But the worst thing is staying seated and your feet glued to the floor is why our world is so screwed up. So try to see how you can be a part of the cause, share all of our content, follow along, and stop just scrolling through mundane divide and see what's actually helping out there in the world, the problem, and who's out actually helping that problem, and try to be a part of it.
Hope you enjoyed today's show. If you would like to learn more about or support Heroes for Humanity, please visit www.theheroesforhumanity.org. Thank you again for listening to Change Agents, an Ironclad original, presented by Firecracker Farm. See you next week with an all-new episode and an all-new guest. See you then.
And now, a preview of Target Intelligence PSYOP.
I'm Shawn Ryan, former Navy SEAL, CIA contractor, and host of The Shawn Ryan Show. Much of my life has been dedicated to seeking truth and getting answers, no matter how uncomfortable the questions are that we have to ask. But in the age of the PSYOP, that search has never been more difficult. In September of 2022, the U.S. Army's 4th PSYOP group released a cryptic video on YouTube.
There is another very important phase of warfare. It has as its target not the body, but the mind of the enemy.
Between clips of troops assembling chess pieces and social unrest, phrases begin to appear on screen. They ask, have you ever wondered who's pulling the strings?
These are the Psy-War soldiers.
The series you're about to listen to is an attempt to answer that question, and an even bigger one. The global power brokers that conduct psychological operations constantly evolve. Technology like AI has evened the playing field, and now, in the era of social media and the democratization of information, all it takes to conduct a PSYOP is a smartphone.
Like and subscribe.
In each episode, we look at a different method of psychological operations, how they've evolved, and how they are being deployed. There's a quote that is attributed to a scientist named E.O. Wilson that says, "We are drowning in information while starving for wisdom." This is a life raft in that sea of both information and misinformation. PSYOPs are all around us. They're conducted by corporations, governments, activist groups, intelligence agencies, foreign adversaries, and anyone who knows how to shape perception to get what they want. The series provides an in-depth look at how these PSYOPs work, from conversations with whistleblowers, experts, historians, tech innovators, and more. We look at world events that are being shaped by highly constructed psychological operations specialists, and look at the terrifying possibilities of where this could all be headed. Along the way, you'll learn about everything from Russian troll farms, fake ghosts in the jungles of Vietnam, and mind control cults, to the CIA's involvement in Hollywood.
Do you have any people paid by the CIA who are working for television networks?
The early history of PSYOPs and psychological experiments laid the foundation for what we see today in modern campaigns that seek to divide culture over polarizing issues. We look at where we are and how we got here, but ultimately, This series is a toolkit to help you understand how you're being manipulated and how to spot the signs of a PSYOP. Before the Army's viral PSYOP recruitment video ends, the words on screen inform viewers that war is evolving and all the world's a stage. This series is a peek behind the curtain. Welcome to the PSYOP. Buy it today at PSYOPshow.com.